The growth of forage and fodder plants is an enormous industry in the United States and throughout the world. More than 50% of the grain grown in the U.S. is fed to livestock as fodder, with an estimated 41 million tons of plant protein consumed by U.S. livestock every year. Forage and fodder plants are plants that are grown specifically to be fed to or grazed by livestock. Plants used for forage or fodder are required to be rich in nutrients, high in digestible fiber, and be semi-resistant to drought or other problems that commonly occur during the growing season. There are an extremely diverse set of plants deemed forage or fodder crops, but for the sake of time, we'll focus on plants in temperate climates. Let's start with forage. Forage plants are plants that are grown for animals to graze on. Animals consume them directly without the need for them to be harvested first. The most important forage plants belong in two major families: Poaceae, the true grasses, or Fabaceae, the legumes. The Poaceae, or Gramineae family, contains more than 10,000 monocotyledonous flowering plant species known as the true grasses. Unlike other large families of angiosperms that mainly live in tropical regions, grasses are uniformly distributed across all climate zones throughout the world. They are particularly important economically and are staple forage crops in the United States and in other countries. Important forage grasses include bluegrass, ryegrass, Sudan grass, and orchard grass. Kentucky bluegrass, or Poa pratensis, is a long-lived perennial grass that grows 1 to 2 feet in height. It has narrow, dark leaves and a pyramid-shaped panicle at its top. Resistance to drought and its ability to withstand constant grazing make it an ideal choice for some, though it is not an ideal candidate for hay production. The next most important group of forage plants belong to the family Fabaceae, commonly known as the legume family, which is comprised of dicotyledonous flowering plants. It contains 730 genera with over 19,400 species and is found all over the globe. Legumes used for forage need to have 5 nutritive characteristics: high fiber digestibility, low anti-quality compounds, appropriate levels of condensed tannins, reduced non-protein nitrogen, and amino acids containing a high amount of sulfur. One of the most important forage legumes in the U.S. is alfalfa, Medicago sativa. Alfalfa, or lucerne, is a perennial that may resemble clover at first glance, with its conspicuous purple flowers. It has been used as animal forage and fodder since ancient times. The roots of alfalfa go deep, making it very drought resilient. Originally coming from a semi-arid region of Central Asia, alfalfa gets its name from an Arabic word meaning best forage. Its palatable and nutritious leaves caused it to be transported all over the world, eventually reaching California in the 19th century. Another important forage legume is clover, Trifolium, which is also commonly grown in temperate climates. Several types of clovers are grown for forage, including Alsite clover, crimson clover, red clover, and white clover. Trifolium pratense, or red clover, originally came from northern Europe. Its stems are high in fiber while its leaves are nutritious for livestock. Its name comes from its rose-colored flower heads, which are made up of as many as 100 smaller flowers. Red clover is easily established in new environments and can be grown in places too wet or acidic for alfalfa. Though not of the same genera, sweet clover is also commonly grown for forage within the U.S. and can fill a field with bright yellow blossoms during the summer. Wrapping up the important members of the Fabaceae family are hairy vetch, bird's foot trefoil, and field peas. There is also a movement towards using native grasses as forage plants within parts of the U.S. Utilizing native grasses such as big bluestem, which is Illinois state grass, has been shown to have multiple benefits for both the animals and ecosystem at large. Indian grass is also a popular choice for native grass foraging. Now we can begin to discuss fodder. Fodder plants are plants that are grown in order to be harvested and later fed to animals. Many of the same plants used for forage are also used for fodder, such as alfalfa, clover, and grasses. Maize, or corn, is also commonly included in animal fodder. There are many different types of fodder. Silage, for instance, is harvested oats, grasses, and legumes left to ferment in a high moisture environment. Silage can be stored for extended periods of time and used well into seasons in which growing forage is not possible. It is not as nutritious for livestock, but its convenience and storage ability cause it to be a common choice for farmers. Crop residues are another form of fodder and come in two main forms. Stover is the stalks and leaves of crops left over after harvest that are then fed to livestock. Common plants used for stover include maize and soybeans. Hay, on the other hand, is comprised of grasses and legumes that have been cut and dried for fodder. The fruits in hay are still on the plants, resulting in a much higher nutrient content than stover or straw. Hay is generally used when pasture is limited or when grazing is not possible. There is increasing support for growing brassicas, family Brassicaceae, in order to support fall grazing. Research has shown that doing so not only provides an increased yield for forage or fodder, but the deep roots brassicas possess greatly improve soil fertility and enhance nutrient use efficiency for summer grasses normally grown in such areas. This also maximizes land use efficiency for farmers, and the nutrient-rich brassicas provide ample food for ruminants. Common brassicas used for forage and fodder include turnips, kale, or rape and rutabaga. Barley has long been an extremely important plant throughout human history. It is used as both a forage and fodder crop and is making a comeback as modern farmers seek ways in which to maximize space use and become more self-sufficient. Some are turning to the growth of barley using hydroponic fodder systems in which sprouts are grown vertically on a framework of shelves. This provides very efficient space use, and the barley is known to be highly palatable to many species of livestock. Now you know some of the most important forage and fodder crops in the United States and in other temperate climates. Grasses and legumes are the most economically important, with brassicas bringing up the rear. Millions of tons of crops are harvested for livestock each year, and they are being grown all around us. Though we may not think of it all the time, the growth of forage and fodder crops is and will continue to be an enormous industry in the United States and throughout the world.
I will possess your heart.